Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Today, I'm going to show you a fun way to stretch your supplies by turning your die cuts into beautiful backgrounds for your cards. Before I get into creating with my die cuts, I first want to create the background that the die cuts are going to sit on top of. So this is completely optional, but I'm going to be using the white Christmas text background stamp from Simon Says Stamp. I am going to heat emboss it onto sea glass cardstock. This is from Concord and Ninth, but you could use any color combination of cardstock that you prefer for your holiday cards. So I prepped the cardstock with an anti-static powder tool, and then I'm stamping the text onto the cardstock using Watermark and Embossing ink. Now, it's really hard to see in person and on camera, so I'm going to stamp it twice to make sure that I have a really good impression. Next, I'm going to sprinkle on some clear embossing powder. And again, this is optional. I just wanted a little bit of subtle interest behind my die cuts. And I wanted this kind of tone on tone effect. And the best way to do that is using clear embossing powder. So I'm sprinkling on that powder, tapping off the excess, and then I'm going to melt that with my heat tool. So I made sure that that was nice and hot to minimize any warping. Now I can start working on my die cuts. And for this, I wanted something that kind of matched my cardstock but still stood out. I'm going to be using the Charming Berry Branch from Simon Says Stamp and die cutting that multiple times out of juniper cardstock. Now, I really just wanted some contrast in here, so you could go with a light purple base and then a dark purple for the leaves. And you can do this with any type of die that you have in your stash. I started by figuring out the arrangement. Now, this is just a one layer of the die cut. Once I had the arrangement kind of figured out, I'm going to start attaching everything using some liquid glue and my tweezers. Of course, you could use something like press and seal if you wanted to pick it all up at once, but I find this works better for me. Now, I do have one little spot off on the side that's kind of an open area. I wanted to make sure I had enough die cuts for everything first before I did that little area. Because a lot of times when you're trimming off your excess, you can use those pieces on the edge of your cards to make it kind of more of a cohesive design. Now, I went through and I did add a second layer to all of the die cuts, so there is a little bit of dimension there. You can use a paper trimmer or a large pair of scissors to trim off any of that excess. Here, I'm just using my Gina K Designs paper trimmer, and then I can bring in some of those pieces. I think I do it off screen to fill in any of the areas around the edge of my card. For a sentiment for the front of this card, the possibilities are really endless, whatever you happen to have in your stash. I really like this set from Kathy Zilski. It is Inside Greetings Holiday Edition. So it is meant to go on the inside of your card, but I really loved this particular one and wanted to use it on the front of my card because I really like the mix of the fonts. And plus, there are coordinating dies for everything. And I thought it looked really nice. The white space around the edge of the sentiment is really close. So I thought that looked really nice. I die cut the sentiment out with the coordinating die and also a couple extra layers to stack my sentiment. I'm going to add some splatter. I really wanted to do some shimmer, so I brought in the Weathered Wood Distress Spritz. This has a little bit of shimmer to it. I wasn't really sure how this was going to look, so I'm going very, very small splatters. It actually is kind of dark. It was darker than I thought it was, so I'm glad I did that very minimally. And then I'm bringing in some white acrylic spray. I can't go wrong with white acrylic spray for splatters, so I'm adding that to my background as well. Now, sometimes with these backgrounds, when it's a little heavy or there's a lot going on the top of it, like I have quite a few layers of those die cut leaves, it can tend to warp. And I want to make sure that this stays put. So I am using double-sided tape on my side folding card front. And then I can go ahead and attach my card front to the card base. And I feel pretty confident with that double-sided tape that it's going to hold that all in place for me. Then I'll use a T-square ruler and line up my sentiment as straight as I can, just trying to keep my margins even on both the right and left-hand side. I added that with a couple thin foam squares behind it. And I'm going to bring in these cherry red pearls. These are from Pretty Pink Posh. And I'm going to add them to the little areas where there would be a berry on those branches. You could do sparkle red gems. You could even do white. I really love that pop of red on there. Thank you so much for joining me today, friends. I hope you enjoyed seeing how simple die cuts can transform into gorgeous card backgrounds. Don't forget to check the supply list down below in the video description if you want to recreate this, or you may be able to find something in your stash. If you found this tutorial helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already so you don't miss any more card making inspiration. Until next time, happy crafting! Here is another video I think you might enjoy.